Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Since the establishment of Islamic House of Wisdom, 6 words been repeated during the history of this faith foundation: education, faith, love and justice, outreach and action. So the word education, in Arabic al-ilm, as we have in our tradition that al-ilmu nur, al-ilmu zina, al-ilmu haraka, al-ilmu hayat, al-ilmu jamal, al-ilmu kamal, al-ilmu fadila, طلب العلم فريدة اطلبوه من المهد إلى اللحد. اطلبوا العلم من المهد إلى اللحد، اطلبوه ولو بالسين. Knowledge is light, knowledge is beauty, knowledge is energy, knowledge is power. And it is an obligation for everyone to search for understanding, for knowledge. This is our tradition. This is what we believe. And today's discussion is about education. We have on my right side Hajji Nawal Hamadeh, the head of Hamadeh Education Services, a woman of vision, a lady of light and leadership. Hajji Nawal is known for her commitment, her wisdom, her hard work, and her services to our community and to every community. A role model in not only educating our youth, but also values. Because knowledge by itself is not, if it is not supported by values, it might be abused. As we say in our prayers that أعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع. If the knowledge is not blessed with the values, with truth, with honesty, with decency, with the intention of service, it might be an instrument of destruction. When we go to Hamadeh education facilities, we see the beauty of diversity. People from different faiths, different cultures, different colors, different ethnicities, different backgrounds, they are there and they are welcome. I'm amazed with the leadership of Hajji Nawal and of course today some of her assistants, Dr. Ali Bazzi and Dr. Sheila Sharara and Lial Busi and many other members of her team in these educational services. I'm so impressed and inspired with her courage, taking responsibility, especially during this Corona crisis. I realized that her charter school was the first one to provide computers and food services and communicating with all the families so fast, with so much discipline and so much determination that really Hajji Nawal made all of us proud. I know that during this corona crisis, anywhere that the ladies were in charge, people were lucky, both from health and safety point of view and also socially, whether in the level of a state or even level of countries like Germany, other countries that they are led by ladies, they were safer during this crisis. So for that reason, we know Hajji Nawal history since I've been in Michigan, almost 28, 29 years now. I experienced and I was observing her interest and enthusiasm, her passion for education and for serving the community. From the time of Islamic Center, that she was the one who established the Sunday school and taking care of the kids in that community that nobody was there really to do this kind of thing. And later on, it developed to the point that now probably more than 3,000 kids of this community and other communities are served in her educational foundation. So that is a great opportunity, and we are very grateful to you, Hajji Nawal, and their Bazzi and Sister Lial and Sister Sheila for participating in this friendly conversation, friendly chatting. That is an information that we like to share with everyone in our community to see the services and sacrifice of this educational center, Hamadeh Educational Services, and also to be more aware of our obligations as parents, how parents should parenting their children, our children, to observe the things that the school is doing, to manage and to monitor our kids, to manage their time, to motivate their kids to use these facilities, these computers, these services. Don't take it for granted, and appreciate that, and help the management and help the staff of the facility to help us. So I would like to, sorry, got a little bit long, but to start from Hajji Nawal, and then
it was a well-deserved introduction for Hajji. She deserves that introduction. She does.
I agree.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Imam Elahi. I am truly humbled by this introduction. If I'm anything, it's mainly because of the pillars of the organization, the school leadership, and everybody else who works hard. And if it's not for them, I would not have had this introduction, and I would not be here today. So thank you, and thanks to the community, thanks to the families, the students. It's all of us put together who have really contributed to the success of Hamadeh Educational Services. So I'm truly honored and very proud to be a member of the Islamic House of Wisdom. I do consider myself a long-term member, and that has really helped me through my growth stages as I kind of continue to develop the nonprofit sort of skills, organizational skills and so forth. So that all kind of helped. Thank you for having us. And I do want to thank the viewers. I want to thank the families, the students, the staff. I want to thank the community members for their time to be with us in this session. This session is really aimed at hopefully providing an introduction and or further information about our organization, Hamadeh Educational Services, and our academies. Mainly the 4 academies that we have: STAR International Academy, Universal Academy, Universal Learning Academy, and Noor International Academies. Our academies cater to students in pre-K through 12, and they're all over in the Metro Detroit area. And so before I continue further, I'd like to kind of introduce, I'm very, honored to introduce our team members who are here joining us. And incidentally, we do have, at the leadership, we have 6 principals in the different locations between Dearborn Heights, Detroit, Sterling Heights, and even Canton, a new branch that we opened for Star International Academy. So with us is, mainly Dr. Bazzi, who is the assistant superintendent for the entire, for all of the schools, and as well as we have Mrs. Layal Bousi, who is the principal at Universal Learning Academy in Westland. And then we have Mrs. Sharara. She is the principal at Noor International Academy in Sterling Heights. So the team members have been with the organization for a few years, so they're like veterans in the organization and in the educational field. And they've really had an amazing impact on the organization, its successes and the school successes. So I want to thank them for being here. I want to thank the school leaders who were not able to be with us as well. And I don't want to go too far. I know Dr. Bazzi is on a time crunch, so I'm going to let him just move on with his role to kind of speak of, a little bit briefly on academies and perhaps the challenges and the accomplishments, and then we can touch base on the rest of the information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
I think you said it all in the introduction for Mrs. Hamadeh. It's very successful, very humble. I think that's what really triggers through the leadership team, really down to the students, right? Being humble is a very, very good characteristic to have. But in essence, through the years, obviously with the principals, the students and the leadership team, even the staff and teachers work around the clock and have achieved throughout the years. You're talking over the past 5 years between all schools, almost close to $100 million worth of scholarships. Students are going to the Ivy Leagues, right? Just like in traditional public schools, Hamadeh Educational Services is doing the same thing, if not more. On top of scholarships, knowing as a parent that my child's going to go for the next 40 years and I don't have to pay $1, it's a great feeling, right? Given that I have student income or student loans that we have to pay. On top of that, other awards at academic level. Noor International Academy was rated #1 by Ninja.com for the best charter school in Michigan, so kudos to them. Star was ranked in 2016 the #1 safest school in the state of Michigan by Niche.com. Both ULA, SIA, and Universal Academy down in Detroit were all highlighted in the U.S. World News for best performing high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools. So I know Star at one point got to the silver medal. All of us reached bronze. So you could see the achievement happening, right? There's no lying in data, and it goes really to a testament to all of those teachers. Even the community members, parents, right? They're working around the clock with teachers and making sure that we're doing the best that we can for all the kids. Is it a struggle? I wouldn't say so much of a struggle as it is an opportunity, even for parents, right? Learning how to use a computer, right? How many have really learned through the virtual setting? Not many, I would assume, right? Sure, college students do it, but for our parents, even for them to learn and for them to get educated, I think it's a positive thing. I think we're all learning. I think the kids are doing very, very well in this setting, and I know Ms. Lucy will talk about virtual learning here in a second. But through it all, I know Hajji is going on 23 years, inshallah 50 more to come. But the idea here is that, we never stop helping the community, and that's really why we're here. This has nothing to do about anything else but serving our community. If you need help, you want a good education, a great education, you want to go to the top 25 universities, you want to go to Ivy Leagues, we can make that happen. And it's just a matter of working together and working collectively, right? We all admire Mrs. Hamadeh for all the effort she's done and all the hours she's put in, and believe me, probably no one can understand because no one's in her shoe, but that humbleness truly comes out, and it is a working collaborative environment for staff, even for students. We listen, and because of that, we're able to be better, right? We need that feedback. What is it that you see? What is it would you like us to do? And we take that into consideration in everything we do. And so that's really a testament to her that we've all picked up on as principals and as team members, that we're here for the community. We're going to serve the community. We can talk about all the awards as much as possible, but what matters most is that day in June when those kids walk that aisle, right, and go on to post-secondary education. And incidentally, all of our schools, we have 100% a graduation rate for those students who stick with us in 12th grade and then graduate in June. And almost every single person gets into post-secondary education in colleges, even to trade schools, whatever it is, their niche. But that is what it's about. That kindergarten graduation and then that 12th grade graduation to see them through, I think, is the highlight of everything and why we're in education, really.
Tremendous team.
Yes.
Congratulations. It's just so proud of Brother Ali and your assistance to your leader, Hajji Nawal, and the students. All of you are leading by example, and that's really important. That you acted and you led your services in a way that you deserve that trust and confidence of the families. And we know through our experience, my son Mahdi, who is now a doctor, pharmacist, he was just a little kid in Hajji Nawal school, and so we celebrate the fruits of this foundation now in our community. Big legacy. Thank you, Brother Ali.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Bazzi, for the information that you provided and for all the hard work and efforts. So your leadership is definitely extremely instrumental in in impacting the future generation in many ways that are so positive that will help them in the years ahead in their careers and so forth. And you are a definite role model to all the males as well, even to the females. With that, I'd like to kind of also invite our next leader, Mrs. Layal Busi, who is the principal of Universal Learning Academy, who's had a history of, leading our youth in the capacity of being initially as a teacher, eventually as an administrator, instructional administrator, to assistant principal, to principal. So Mrs. Busi is going to elaborate more about our programs in the virtual learning.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and thank you for giving us this opportunity and for having this wonderful collaborative conversation. In these unprecedented times, there's really nothing better than having conversations about education. If there's really anything our students really need at this point, I would say, is the power of education and being informed and knowing exactly how to make informed decisions, especially in the midst of a pandemic as such, where information can be so staggered all over the place. And what's better than teaching and education and learning in general to provide our students with this wonderful opportunity. The one thing I would want to, maybe highlight and bring back, and I do want to thank Imam Elahi and Mrs. Nawal Hamadeh for really starting the conversation with, is the fact that it takes so much discipline and it takes so much collaboration and commitment and discipline to really put such a plan together. And with the visionary leadership that Mrs. Hamadeh provides, we were able as a team to really pull together, I would say back in the spring, it's not necessarily just this summer, back in the spring, the team with Mrs. Hamadeh's leadership and the team's commitment, really, there was a lot of back and forth, stakeholder feedback, surveying, gathering feedback from our students, stopping everything we're doing in the day and just calling the parents and texting and connecting with them and staying engaged with the students to really understand what struggles they've come across in the middle of, you have 24 hours and you're switching to virtual learning. And that's exactly what happened, I would say, maybe globally and across the United States in general and within our communities. The one good thing is that within our organization, we were blessed to have a lot of close conversations and reflections. And even when we felt that something didn't go right, we were able to reflect very quick and make adjustments and make changes on the spot to the betterment of the program and to the best interest of our families and our students. Based on that feedback, believe it or not, that we started gathering early on in the spring and going into the summer, the team of leadership connected with teachers over the summer, connected with families and with parents very, very early on. And I would say through survey data that was collected, we were able to see that our parents and our families were looking for more of direct instruction and more of support so our students do not necessarily lose on the opportunity of learning. Despite the fact that we were, having live sessions with our students back in the spring, we wanted to be a little bit more engaged with the students. And, Ms. Sharara, Mrs. Hamadeh can definitely add to that in their later conversations today. But the biggest thing that we felt will help our students is bringing the classroom more live to them and having a lot of one-on-one, I would say, direct live sessions with the students where we're having the opportunity as educators to do our job, and we're taking a little bit of that pressure off the parents, where the parents are helping us and supporting us with the monitoring and the supervision process, and we are delivering the quality curriculum and instruction. And I will tell you that this, one-on-one live instruction, whether by the hour or by the block, depending on what the academies have decided to go with, helped our students relive the classroom environment and bring back that social emotional factor that was so critical. Our students look forward to the live sessions to see their peers. Our families feel that level of connection because they're able to see their principals, they're able to see their teachers, they're able to see the peers and other family members through the weekly family engagement sessions that we host, through coffee with the principals, through the wonderful ongoing Facebook lives and memos and updates that our superintendent continues to bring about. So yes, it does feel rigorous. Yes, it does feel like, whoa, are we in the classroom sort of feeling? And that's really the goal. And it all came back from the fact that our families wanted that level of engagement, wanted the learning process to be rigorous, especially with the increased, and I would say the added accountability that has been brought back onto the students across all grade levels. When I say grade levels, I say kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. So what's better than having your teacher and your school administration and all your services right there and then readily available to you? So with that in mind, as a parent of three HES Academy students, I feel pretty relieved that there is a teacher I can always vouch out, and reach out to help me with my child's education. And that was really the ultimate mission and vision of Mrs. Hamadeh's realignment of how virtual learning had to be going into 2020, 2021, especially with the ongoing challenges that all families continue to face. So, I do want to thank you both for bringing that and just allowing us to highlight a little bit on how virtual learning has taken what facet, what I would say stage virtual learning has come about within our academies. And I'm pretty sure Miss Sheila Sharara can also further add to this.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mrs. Sharara, Mrs. Boosie. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mrs. Boosie has, she's amazing. An
Thank you.
amazing
Really,
leader.
really
I
is.
apologize about my scarf. I
Each and
used for the last
every one
minute.
is
Yeah, I
incredible.
know. It's,
They work
Mashallah.
so hard. So one thing that I have a disease, I work hard, it becomes contagious. So whoever joins me, they end up.
We have no other choice. We have to lead
She's
by
a great
example as well.
communicator, very,
She
very
is,
powerful
she's amazing.
communicator.
Yeah.
And it's
And,
true that really the children, big challenge. Now, even if we as family, if you have a few kids in your house, I mean, always a challenge of even dealing with 2-3 kids in the family.
It's a lot.
And now in the school, you are dealing with thousands of them.
Definitely.
And then you have moral responsibility, legal responsibility, educational responsibility. God bless you. It's just, and you've done it perfectly.
So I wanted to
Great.
kind of point out one thing for sure, that all of our students, regardless of how many students are in the family, each student got a Chromebook. And also for those who are missing high-speed internet, they're getting hotspots as well. To make sure that every student has access to the same level of education like everyone else. So that's always, the focus. And I'd like to introduce our next school leader, Mrs. Sheila Sharara. She is the soon-to-be Dr. Sheila Sharara. So she is the principal of Noor International Academy in Sterling Heights, and that's an elementary academy. But she can elaborate more about the elementary program, perhaps the mix of programs that we have, and your experience. If you may go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum to our audience. Thank you, Imam Elahi, for making this possible. Hajji Nawal is a phenomenal leader who is a pillar in our community. So the opportunity to attempt to learn and continue in her leadership and her visionary guidance is one we all can speak to, and I know my colleagues here are speaking to that. The academies, whether we are virtual or in person, our programs are highlighted amongst all of our community members, and something that you commonly hear about, and whether it's from all stakeholders, whether it's staff, parents, or students. So like Mrs. Hamadeh said, Noor International Academy is a pre-K through 6 building. And really, when you think of elementary, you're thinking of the foundation. So that begins early on in the preschool level. And so, as you commonly hear in education, we're looking for a holistic approach. And so in preschool, we're looking at the holistic child. And so developing, social and emotional development skills while addressing the core standards and ensuring that they are, and when you hear of college readiness, we're looking at that from the preschool level. So you imagine that as the foundation, and then as you're building into the elementary, the primary school years. So with that being said, we are always looking at ways to improve, and the school improvement process is always part of our everyday decision making, looking at whether, Dr. Bazzi indicated, we're always making data-informed decisions. So that starts even at the preschool level. So we're ensuring that college readiness starts at that very core, at that very foundation. Now, when Hajji Nawal Hamadeh began the very start, the core was looking at our community, as everybody knows, and what is the need in our community. We have many schools, and mashallah, our schools have been able to stand out because the vision and the mission started out with looking at where are the gaps, where are schools in the traditional public school systems, where are the gap areas, what are they missing? And that, that's something that she has continued to be able to hone in on based on where the needs are. So if we're looking at, parents and families who are interested in their child learning the Arabic language, that's part of our core. It's the Arabic language is something that is taught daily. So students from across backgrounds, you spoke of the great diversity in our student populations. Many students do not have an Arabic language background, and they come out fluent in the Arabic language by high school, and it is something truly truly amazing. So with Arabic language being part of the core, the Common Core standards, if we're going to speak in language, the educational jargon language, you're going to hear of the Common Core, which are the state and national standards. So everything in our programs is guided by those standards. The most rigorous curriculum programs, robust resources that are used to ensure that we're meeting all students' needs. So when we go back to think of the holistic approach, we're also thinking about, okay, how do we ensure we close those gaps, whether they are, academic gaps, emotional, social, whatever the needs may be. We look at tiered approaches to observing students and intervening as we go. And that's where you have the slew and multiple resources and support services that are provided. So at the very early level, students are observed and monitored to ensure, is there a learning disability? Is there some kind of need that we need to target and support? And all of those services are provided and available across our academies. So students are targeted very early on. And so when you hear of, there's no one size fits all for student and education, that's what we're referring to. This is how we tailor, we target students' needs by tailoring to their specific needs. And so again, that starts at the preschool level and works all the way up into, the primary years and the upper elementary, later on to middle school and the high school grade levels. Another thing that we, very much pride ourselves with is the professional development that we provide teachers and staff. Knowing that all of these resources and all of these advances as we continue to, stay abreast of the research and what is most, what's considered best practice in a current time is being able to provide teachers and staff ongoing professional development to ensure that they are, very much capable and at the highest ability, whether they're coming in as a paraprofessional or an interventionist or a general ed a general ed teacher. So with that, it's an ongoing process. And one thing that we've been taught and is an ongoing goal, and Mrs. Hamadeh speaks to this best, is that ongoing improvement, that we're never done learning. And as soon as you stop, or as soon as you seem, you think that you've achieved it and you're done and there's nothing else to learn, that's where you're stagnant. And that, the key in education is always to continue moving forward, looking at how we can improve, what are the gaps, and how we can improve ourselves, and be able to ensure that we are providing the best for our community.
Thank you. And the point is that what Hamadeh Educational Services or Educational Foundation, what you are doing really, you are giving key to what is called American dream to new generation, because a lot of their families they came from overseas, already went through so much struggle and difficulties in their life. And now you are providing them with an opportunity to be armed with the weapon of education. And this is really the key for success, key for reaching American dreams and whatever in their minds. It's really a big legacy, and what we call it Baqiyat Salihat. And I'm happy that in addition to intellectual food, you are providing them even with physical food, food and fruit and all these services that the school is providing for the families, because now, although we live in the United States, one of the richest countries, or probably the richest country in the world, with all this prosperity and everything, but I was just reading in Washington Post a couple of days ago, there was an article saying that last week there was a report by the newspaper that last week over 20 million Americans, they were complaining of not having enough food for the last week, and they said that they didn't have enough to eat. It exists. Now, God save those countries that not only they have to go through the corona, but they are going through poverty and war and violence and massacre, and that is a horrible situation. But even for us living in a country with all this prosperity, is not that everybody lives a perfect life. But then the solution, the light for the future, the key for success is education. But the school cannot be successful if the parents are not on the same page with the school. Especially now, I know that we all love to see the things get normal and we can drop the kids in the school. There is peace in the house and the kids are in the school and everybody is relaxed. But now a lot of families are really tired of taking this responsibility at home, and they love to see this crisis is over, hopefully soon, we don't know. But what are your expectations from the families? I think it's good that the families know that they are also responsible. It's not only the leaders of the education facility, but also we as parents are responsible, making sure that the school is not wasting its time, providing the teachers, providing computer, providing all these programs, but then the kids, instead of listening to the teacher, they are playing game on the computer that the school gave them. So this is really responsibility of the parents to watch what is going on. Is the boy or the girl listening to the teacher on computer or playing game or going to like YouTube and doing his own or her own work. What is the challenge that the school is facing in this area, and your advices for the parents, for dads, for moms to work with the school and be on the same page so we can complete one another? It's a union of school and the family together to raise a child. It takes a village, as they said.
So first of all, I thank you, Imam Elahi, for the question, and that's really very important. I do want to touch base on a few points that we may have missed earlier. So, number one, our education system is offered free of charge to the families for pre-K through 12, and we offer full-day kindergarten and full-day pre-K. In addition, we're state accredited. We only hire certified and or highly qualified teachers and staff and administrators. We do have the STEM, the schools are all STEM certified. We offer AP classes, which are the advanced placement classes, dual enrollment counseling program. We have, it's all college and career preparation program. As well, we have hands-on labs and activities. Even with the virtual learning, we do virtual labs as well. It's a very safe environment. We follow the core curriculum, as Mrs. Sharara mentioned, that is required by the state. We also focus on the international standards as well. So on the question that you raised as to what is it that the parents need to be responsible for, first of all, we recognize that the stress is on everybody. So all of us had to adapt to a new norm and make sacrifices and work even double as hard as what we used to work. We used to work hard, but now it's even more. So we all have sacrifices in this. Our teachers have to sacrifice and put in more hours than they usually do. Our administrators the same way, many long hours all the way. With that, the added responsibility to the families when they're not really the teachers normally during the day now have become the like direct teachers, in a sense, not that they're teaching, but at least immediate supervisors, making sure that their kids sleep on time, they have good nutrition, that they have good study habits, they have space, specific space assigned and designated for them. Definitely it should not be in a bedroom where the student may fall asleep and or slip into a different setting. So there are psychological factors that play an impact on the students' study habits. So we learned that early on when we were children, and we learned it even in college as we trained into education. And also the time frame, waking up on time, joining classes on time, to do check-in here and there. They don't necessarily have to be with the child all the time, but to do check-in, and also to give confidence to the students, to learn to trust them and to build that trust level, and also accountability. There has to be some kind of accountability, a reward system. When I say accountability, it doesn't mean you're going to be punished, blah blah blah. We don't believe in the word punishment in any way or shape. We have to we are the educators, we are the adults, we are responsible for our kids. We just have to promote positive work skills and environment, and continue to feed on that and encourage and promote the positives that are taking place, and let the kids know that they are responsible for their work. And as they grow within the years, the kids need to learn to be independent learners, and the educators help the families with that as well. I do want to kind of leave the floor for my colleagues here. They can elaborate from hands-on experience as they experience the different challenges. Mrs.
I would say Mrs. Hamadeh addressed a very, very important critical skill, which is the self-accountability, and I would say self-independence. Whether we're in a virtual setting or we're actually, in a classroom, one very, very important skill that we as educators further emphasize on, throughout the various grade levels is the importance of 21st century skills and acquisitions. As much as we know at this point, information is readily available. It's within a virtual textbook. If we don't necessarily attain the skill of informational literacy and tapping into the real credible information and being able to do that independently throughout the grade levels and as we get ready for college and career later on, that becomes a challenge. So we do have what we typically refer to as the learning skills sort of curriculum, which is, it is the foundational skills, it is the, I would say, part of it is the soft skills, the ability to reflect, to communicate, to look for information independently, to reach out and know exactly how to reach out for support and help, whether it's from a teacher or from a parent or from, a support staff member that has been, secured to support the learning process of that particular student. So yes, that independence is going to be so critical, and allowing students to have that voice and develop the ability to know how to voice your concerns and know how to voice your ideas and be part of the decision making, and yes, eventually become a leader within your school community is so critical. It's not critical just because it's going to provide the student the opportunity to just have fun in school or have spirit in the school. It's really way beyond that. It goes into developing that accountability and responsibility that ultimately gets translated and reflected into positive and I would say good work ethics that are necessary for success within your K-12 years and beyond the K-12 into post-secondary education. So ultimately, what Mrs. Hamadeh addressed is the importance of structure. In life sciences, we always say structure yields function. And in real life, when we have a good structure, we're going to have, good results from our students and ultimately from our school. Leading, a structured home environment is so critical, meaning, we sometimes underestimate the importance of bedtime when it's so critical even to the adults. Sometimes we underestimate the importance of, closing your virtual lesson for the day, going and spending about 40 minutes to an hour just reflecting on what was learned and what was attained for the day. And, training the body and training the self on hard work is so critical, especially as we all, delve into this rigorous 21st century world. It's so competitive. Educational opportunities are so out there that without those skills that are so critical to making us successful in communicating our ideas and being able to be collaborative team members, then we can't be successful. I mean, I would want to highlight particularly on our schools in particular, if it wasn't for the collaborative, comfortable working team environment, and I'm not necessarily just referring to the employees or the staff or the teachers, I'm referring to the students being able to, request time to meet with you and discuss concerns. And this is exactly what happened back in the spring. They discussed the concern that it isn't enough live sessions, it isn't enough, engagement and collaborating with my teacher. And they did it in such a, good manner that we were able to reflect on this data and say, yes, this is exactly what our students need. And we're hearing it from, the most responsible students who are reflecting day in and day out. Just yesterday and this past week across our academies, students coming in physically to take a standardized assessment. After so many months of being away from the traditional setting, them coming in and being able to self-responsibly follow the guidelines and the strict, safety procedures that we put in place with us without needing to redirect so much, tells you so much about the character education that is embedded within our academies. And again, without that character education stemming from the home environment first, and then further, addressed in the school setting, that's going to be a chaotic learning environment, and that particular student isn't going to really have a good and successful college career. I guarantee you that. Structure and organization are so critical in the success of any student and really any person in general. And that's really what we, ask our families to be mindful of, is just giving us that ongoing trust and support and believing in what we're doing, even though sometimes it may seem stressful at times, but it's good stress. Without stress and without feeling the importance of upcoming due dates and the importance of checklists and knowing that you have to commit to this deadline and that deadline, we're not really ready for this world. You know, there is good stress and there is negative stress, and within our, you know, educational setting, our counselors and our social workers and our family engagement liaisons do such a good job addressing that it's okay to feel stressed at times. What it's not okay is to just to hide away from it and blame it on the school and say the school doesn't get it. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. Well, yes, it's there, but what do we do to address that stress and to handle that stress in a healthy and, I would say, structured and overall healthy manner?
You know, it's an amazing that the kids of today are not aware of being grateful to this kind of support system that they can enjoy. And certainly those who miss these opportunities would really regret later on that really no justification for not to receive the highest and the best education while all the opportunities are available, even during this corona crisis, that even at this time they have this opportunity to learn, and they have all the support from the system, from the leadership of the school, in the community. I mean, I remember when I was like in elementary school and we didn't have even electricity. And we had this lamp that used to have it oil, it was not electricity, right? And my dad said, turn it off, we want to go to bed, we want to go to bed. And I said, you know, please, I need a little bit more light, I want to write. And, you know, you would get frustrated and say, no, we want to go to bed, and you would turn it off. And then I would continue writing in the darkness, and in the morning I look at the paper, you know, from right to left, from left to right, you know, like an ant are moving on the page. So the kids, they don't understand now that their grandparents, or even some of them, their parents, like an immigrant, and they didn't have really these opportunities. And I wish that the parents, they keep reminding their children that wake up, you know, be responsible, don't take it for granted.
And that's
Just
where,
be
and
grateful,
that's where assigning
right.
responsibility
Yeah,
becomes
exactly.
so important. It goes even to the level of assigning daily chores. It is okay. It's an inconvenience now, but it's a great reflection and learning opportunity for later. And that's what we keep encouraging our families to do. Yes, it seems tough at the moment, but later on, you're only allowing your son or daughter to become, you know, a responsible citizen, and really responsible for their own education, learning on later on.
Speak to a little bit of Ms. Boosie's point about structure, though in your point about this generation. So obviously we have to be current with the times, and we have to be very aware and familiar and understanding this generation, because that's the youth that we're working with. And though we want to compare them to ourselves, and like you said, back when I was a kid,
Doesn't work.
and even though we come from all different generations,
Yes.
we can probably all agree on that same note,
Right.
that this generation just doesn't get it, or they just are missing this, or do they know how great they have it. But the more we're in tune with our student populations and the families that they come from, the better we are, you know, prepared to serve and work with them. So with structure, many families don't have structure in their households. So as much as we work with them and teach and establish that in our schools, we recognize that that may not exist in the household. So one thing, you know, our academies focus on is professional development and workshops for the parents. So, you know, whether it's weekly or monthly, we have themed workshops based on their interests and based on where we see those gap areas where we know that they need some support with. Whether it's creating a schedule for their child at home, whether it's the use of the technology, using the apps that we provide to, you know, monitor their students' progress, to reading strategies and how to help their child learn how to read and become successful at home. So all of these services are provided, so we ensure that we're not just focusing on one area, and that kind of goes back to the holistic approach, is how do I ensure that our students and their families are successful? And even for the parents in their own personal lives, there may be areas or things that they're going through that we can provide them assistance with other agencies or organizations within the community that can provide and support them as well. But I do want to hit on one other point. You mentioned the immigrants, and we serve a large population of immigrants from across the globe. One thing we focus on is culturally responsive teaching, and so though we are public school academies, we recognize culture and being in tune with the child's culture and background is essential in making sure that they're successful. So, we have professional development and training for the teaching staff, so they are knowledgeable and familiar of their students' backgrounds. And then recognizing what is culturally responsive teaching and why it's so valuable, and how does it ensure student success, and how and why we make connections to build self-worth and identity and know their self-value, so we build confidence, and with confidence leads to academic and social success. These are all things to prepare them for a global, diverse
and
community.
especially now that we have this disease of racism still exists in the country.
Absolutely.
So your facility has this opportunity because of this diversity to educate the students of being more understanding of these cultural differences. So they are able to listen to one another, learn from one another, have dialogue, have understanding, good relationship, and that sense of humanity. But this is really what we need in this country, because now there is like a cultural war. Yeah, I mean, you can see this cultural war in the media, you can see it in politics, and it's important that the school has this attention on the race issue, the culture issue that you mentioned. So they are raised in a way that they learn how to be tolerant, they learn how to be understanding, they learn how to respect one another, be able to listen to the other party, and we don't have to agree on everything, every cultural tradition. But the point is that disagreement doesn't mean to be violent or destroy one another just because we disagree, whether it's religion or it's a culture or values or whatever it is. So this sense of racial respect and the sense of fairness and justice, that makes peace in the society. Hopefully, with your effort, we are contributing not only having more doctors and more like educators and lawyers and judges and politicians in our community, but also messengers of mercy, messengers of peace, messengers of justice, messengers of morality. And I'm so grateful because Hajji Nawal, she is one of the founding members of Islamic House of Wisdom. As a matter of fact, when we were talking about the bylaw, the board members used to go to Hajji Nawal's house and sit down there and discuss the bylaw. And House of Wisdom became really an interfaith organization that we deal with all religions. As a matter of fact, we had at the House of Wisdom a morning, interfaith morning for all victims of coronavirus, Muslim and non-Muslims, Americans or even other nations. We, with the national interfaith groups, decided to have a memorial for over 200,000 people just from our country who killed by corona, and millions of other people. So we got together at the House of Wisdom and we had a memorial and a mourning for them, and express our prayer, our support, our solidarity with those who are suffering, from the families who are suffering. And we know in our community there are people that we know that they are suffering from corona at this time. So it's good that the Hamadeh Education Facility Services is educating our kids not only in sense of science, but in sense of values and humanity, to appreciate diversity, to respect different races, that God created us with different races, languages, and nationalities and culture, but we are all united in our human identity. That human identity becomes even before religion and before anything that we believe. And I know that Dr. Sheila, you were for a while part of also serving interfaith at the House of Wisdom, but now you are busy at the school and no time to be in activities of the center, but you have our prayer and our support. And please, Hajji Nawal and everyone, the final words, whatever you think that for your own experience or education or anything that you think the families or new generation, the youth, they need to learn from your experience.
Thank you, ma'am. All I can say here is we are all different in one way or another. We all come from diverse backgrounds, educational backgrounds, social, emotional backgrounds, countries, national, whatever, linguistic background. However, we are all under one roof, I can say. We are all in it together, being together, kind of having this open communication, open dialogue with each other will bring more mutual understandings, whether it's the families and, with their, in the immediate family system, parents and children. It's important to have that circle time, come to mutual understandings, have that open dialogue, teach the kids to have that open communication, allow them to express themselves and redirect and re-guide in a very positive and role play to the kids. And then to the immediate communities as well, coming together regardless of the diversity. The diversity is the beauty of this world. We can't all look alike and be alike, and it becomes boring. So we bring a strength out of this diversity. So just remember, we're all in it together. When we pick our brains together, we come up with the best ideas to build the world, to move it forward, and to have resolutions to problems that we may all share or we may support one another. So I leave this discussion with that, and let's all be united for a good cause, for humanity, for the best of our children, so they may have better experiences in life than we've been facing in these few years and with the corona. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again, colleagues and Imam Elahi, for this opportunity to have this wonderful conversation and really reflection. Ultimately, what Mrs. Hamadeh mentioned is the importance of uniting, and what better than uniting around the importance of the power of education and learning. I do want to take a few minutes to thank the educators, despite what their role is in the learning system at this point is, whether they are gen ed teachers, support staff, para educators, lunch, food service, support staff that are working rigorously to make sure we do provide a holistic learning environment to our students, despite the fact that they're separated from us physically at this point, but we continue to connect with them virtually. So teachers, you have been change agents, educators in general, educational leaders, you have been change agents, particularly during this very, very tough time where we're all uncertain about what's next and what's really true and what's the right way to think and what's not the right way to think. So it's been a lot of chaos in our thinking and our brain, and again, we are blessed and grateful with the opportunity to service the mission and the vision of learning and education, and we just ask for the families and the community support in allowing us to continue with this mission and vision.
Thank you, and final word.
Again, thank you, Imam Elahi, for having this opportunity for us to have this discussion. Hajji Nawal, I often say that, and compare our academies to, as we always are looking for improvement, we compare each other to, academies and traditional public school systems as change agents in the community and how we can better serve our community. And the saying goes, we stand on the shoulder of giants, and I have to say it's Mrs. Hamadeh is one of those giants that we stand on the shoulders of, and she kind of leads constantly, day in, day out, the opportunity to be part of that change and be part of that improvement. So as we are in this pandemic, and I think everyone is looking to what's going to happen next, that change is not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a tough thing to experience, but I'm fortunate and comfortable knowing that we are working under her leadership, and I know that we're going to be moving in the right path, wherever that path may lead us. And with the community's partnership and that constant partnership and support, we can only come out on top. And that again is like, the philosophy of it takes a village. We can't do it on our own. There's a saying, it's an Arabic saying, "Eid la wahda ma btza'if." So, we're kind of all in this together, as Mrs. Hamadeh said. So, inshallah, the best for everyone in our community.
Inshallah. أقول رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما وحكمة. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع. آمين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.